introduce yourself. Tell our viewers and our listeners who you are and just kind of your experience in the AV industry.
Sure. Well, my name is John Hogg. I work for a company called DB Audio and Video. I am the Senior Video Systems and Broadcast Design Engineer for the company. I work with clients all over the southern United States as far as the Midwest down to Florida. I've been in this business since the early 90s, and I love what I do. I get to work with a lot of churches and other entities as well, and it's just it's great working with the technology.
Now, what was your entry into industry? Did you kind of start off? I don't know. Did you go to school for it? Did you go to how'd you
Well,
start?
I've been a musician, playing in bands and doing music, and working with church sound and stuff
Okay.
on a volunteer basis for pretty much my whole life.
Okay.
Then back in the early 90s, I had been an entrepreneur right out of college with some friends in the graphics industry, and I was really looking to do something different. I was at the point where I just needed to do something different.
Okay.
And a friend of mine said, "Hey, listen, I'm in this video business. I think you do great at it. You'd be real interesting. Come give it a shot." So it was. I had no idea I was going in that direction, and once I got into it, I absolutely loved it and did pretty well. So.
Okay. Oh, great. Here's a question for you. In your opinion, when it comes to church technology, what are some of the things that church tech should be aware of that we sometimes aren't thinking about?
Well, I think one of the things that, and I experience this with a lot of churches, a lot of times the church doesn't really have a good vision for what the technology it can do for them and where they want them to be using this technology. The technology is just a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a really powerful tool or it can be a very distracting tool depending on how you use it.
Right.
But a lot of times the tech directors, they really don't know. They're so busy with, just like everybody else, they're so busy trying to get this Sunday's sermon and technology working right, and then trying to fix this problem or that problem, that and a lot of times they don't really sit and think through, okay, what do we want this technology to do for us? Where would we like to be using this technology down the road? And they don't really have a vision and a plan for where they might want to go.
Okay. So that needs to become more of the conversation for sure. It's just a concrete plan and direction.
Right, because a lot of times, you get into the nuts and bolts. They want to talk about equipment. They want to talk about this piece of gear. Do we need that? Do we need this?
Right.
And they don't really have a vision of, okay, well, what's the goal for getting all this gear? Well, where do we see ourselves in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? How do we want to use this stuff? How's it going to affect our ministry? They don't think about those things. And having that understanding first really helps you make better decisions on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll give you an example of one church that I've, recently been in contact with that did an excellent job on that, I think, is North Point Church, Andy Stanley here in the Atlanta area. And it just seems as though in their planning stages, from, entering into the multi-site scenario, they just planned it out so well because the churches are built with the infrastructure already in place. There's a number of video control rooms throughout the facilities that are all interconnected, and they all tap into a master control at another campus, and it's so seamless. But that particular scenario would be the biggest headache if you didn't plan that in advance.
I agree 100%. Matter of fact, I just came from a church. It's also a very big church who did not plan out their technology right, and now they're 2 or 3 years down the road, and now they're having all kind of problems because they want to do all these things. And if they had thought it through on the front side and had a plan before they started building and doing all that, it would have been so much simpler to do what they're trying to do now. But that's exactly right. I mean, I work with a lot of churches that have done multiple sites and once they've done it a while, they realize the mistakes not to make. And once you build one building, you realize, we think we do it better over here. So the churches that have that long-term experience of building and going through the building process, they generally have made those mistakes. And then they don't tend to make those mistakes the next time. A lot of churches don't have that luxury of having already gone through the process once, so they go in and they just make the same mistakes that everybody else makes.
That's true. Yeah. Well, talk about current video trends that you're seeing in the church. What are some of the trends out there that you're seeing?
Well, we're kind of in a unique position right now. Over the last 5 years, the cost to value, or the cost to performance ratio of video equipment, and to a certain extent audio equipment likewise, I mean, it's just been amazing, the change that we've seen in the last 5 years. What you get for the dollar these days is not even comparable. I mean, you're getting 5-8 times what you got 5 years ago.
Right. Okay.
With the proliferation of all the digital interfaces and the digital technologies, the cost to the performance of the cameras, the cost per lumen of projection systems.
Right.
What would have been if a church wanted to do some very nice technology 5 or 6 years ago, they would have spent an awful lot of money.
Right.
Churches can get very similar performance these days, if not better, for a fraction of the cost of what stuff cost 5 years ago.
Now that's an interesting point, because definitely, 5-10 years ago, a good move for the church, I thought, in my opinion, would be to invest in used equipment. Things that your bigger production houses or television stations were getting rid of. And you kind of acquire that gear and so forth, and now you have a step down to where the industry is, but you still got some quality equipment and stuff at a a lower price. Now, what's your thought about that nowadays? I mean, that the prices have come down. Would you even go that route of buying used equipment, or should you just go with the latest and greatest things that may be more cost effective?
Well, that really was a good strategy a few years ago. However, I don't think I would subscribe to that anymore.
Okay.
Simply because what you can get brand new for, let's say it was $10,000.
Yeah.
There is no $10,000 piece of used equipment that would be substantially better than a brand new $10,000 piece of equipment. Now, I'm throwing $10,000 out as an arbitrary number.
Yeah.
But with the advent with many manufacturers making low-cost, high-performance HD cameras, HD switchers, HD monitors, it's just when that camera cost $80,000.
Yeah.
And now you're talking, you want to put 4 or 5 cameras in, and you've got, $300,000-$400,000 worth of cameras.
Right.
Then sure, if I can buy that same camera used for $15,000, wow, that's a great deal. But right now, you can buy a camera that's $15,000 that's better than the $80,000 camera was 4 years ago.
Right. And then what about the cost of repair and stuff for that camera? Even if you buy it at $15,000, the parts and service for that camera are still going to be pretty expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, actually they are. And what's happening is manufacturers are they are consolidating their repair facilities. They're paring back. They're cutting employees. The repair world right now is not a pretty place. The availability of components is decreasing day by day. It's definitely. I would strongly recommend against buying a bunch of old used gear, simply because the cost of maintenance, even if you can get it fixed, in some cases, you might not even be able to get parts for the thing.